Yay. I see the red sign. It says we are live.
We are live.
We are live.
And that red being your
So
favorite
you
color.
wanted me to say this again.
Yeah, because it
It
looked
is my
really
favorite
hilarious.
colour.
Yes.
Yes. So just before we came on, I asked, is there anything in my teeth? So I just had.
And I never got a chance
like
to look, so let me have a look.
Oh, can you see it?
No, you're all good. You're all good.
know.
You're all happening.
I think I'm far enough away that unless it's
You
really
are.
big, you won't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Like I'm
you're
in
all
Tassie
good.
and you're in Sydney. That's a long way away. Yeah.
Hey, guess what? We're live. This is kind of our life, though, isn't it?
Yes, this is our life. This is normal. So do you want to talk about work?
Lots of people don't. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Lots of people don't get to see this side of our life. We have many a chat. Sometimes our chats go for at least over 5 minutes. What do you reckon? How long's our longest?
We did have a 9-hour one late last year. So a 9
hour.
Whoa,
there you go. 9 hours.
Whew. That kind of followed me through the day, where it's not like we were just talking chat and then popping up and having a voice chat. It was actually voice chat the whole time and video chat, actually. So
my gosh.
Moved you from the computer to the phone and back to the
computer.
I think,
was that the day where you came while I was trying to attempt to cook as well?
Yeah, I think so. So you were moving around too.
Yeah. All right. Well, guess what? I think we'll have a few things to say then on the decision table today, I reckon. For those that are listening in for the first time, this is kind of casual talks, conversations on the table, really just with friends or new friends, depending who it is. I'd like to say you're an old friend, but like old kind of makes it sound bad, right? So
well, I am older than you, so
I know, and I make sure you know that every time your birthday comes.
Yay, still older than me.
I know. It feels so good. It feels so good for at least a moment. But honestly, these conversations, I got kind of frustrated at the end of last year, like hearing people just saying, oh my goodness, like it's going to be a new year, it's going to change over. And, things like that do frustrate me because people aren't willing to sort of do anything different, but they sort of want something different to happen. And I, of course, didn't want that to happen to us. And so I wanted to make sure that, 21, we were going to start off with a bang because I'd hate to do it too quietly. And, one of those things was having a conversation every day meant that maybe something new could come out of those conversations. Maybe we could deep dive into, what I really do believe is the need for a new approach to leadership, and hear it from different people, different angles and different perspectives through the lenses that each one that comes on this table uses.
Yeah, totally. I think we have these kind of conversations quite a lot about where
just
leadership is going about, and then we even discuss what is leadership and how people, and just because somebody recognizes themselves as a leader, does it make them a leader, and vice versa. There are so many people in the community who I would consider to be leaders, and many of us who would never put their hands up as a leader. So does that then influence how they behave as well? Yeah, they're kind of interesting.
Okay, let's dive down that one then. So why do you think some don't class themselves as leaders? I mean, I did struggle with that for a little bit myself, I have to admit.
I think maybe it's partly because of the connotations that are applied to that in our communities. And if you're a leader, it puts a lot more pressure. Like if you are considered a leader, there's this pressure that you have to perform to a certain level, perhaps all of the time. And some people find the thought of that's just too challenging. Either that, or they're just very humble as well. So they're like, I don't see that what I do is beyond what everyone else does, if that was the definition of leadership. And therefore, why would people follow me, or why are they? Even though people are, if that makes it kind of sounds a bit wishy-washy. But I just think the definition of leadership in different circles is completely different, and there's lots of negative connotations, as you alluded to earlier, around leadership as well. So
okay, shout out to Vinka. She's saying hello to us lovelies today.
Hello,
so yeah, I totally get that some just don't own it, but like I think that's kind of sometimes a problem too, because if you don't own it, or is it? Maybe it's not. I think it is. I can do lots of on this table today because it's you on the other end, and so we can go really deep on here.
Yeah. Well, you know that I'm one of those people who the word leader has all of these flavors. That's why we have this conversation, probably. And because you've also had that in the past as well. So we can have this conversation. The word leader itself, there's a part of me that's very egalitarian, and it says we're all the same. And we should all have the ability to be the same. So to me, everyone's a leader in their own life. And if they choose, they can step out and be a leader in others' lives as well. And often they're being leaders in other people's lives, even if they don't choose to, just by leading a life that is, something that people look up to in some way, or they're doing some part of their life. I would actually hope that for everyone, now I think about it, that everybody would have the opportunity to lead a life where at least some part of their life has, there is some element of it that other people want to emulate. It's probably a better word for it. Or they want to, I don't like follow or whatever, but it's probably not the right word either. That's why, I just find leadership is such a sticky word for me, as you can tell.
Well, no, but it's good because you said an interesting thing, and that was, well, you often say lots of interesting things, but one in particular, and that was this whole thing, everyone's a leader. If everyone's a leader, then who's the followers? Who's the ones coming on the pathway? I find that an interesting concept. Everyone is a leader. And what is leadership? Well, that's where I think there's this need, I think, and the stickiness around leadership and what framed as a leader, or how a leader needs to perform or behave or react, respond, whatever it is, right, is an interesting thing. And something that, one of the reasons I pushed back on it was I didn't want to be associated with that kind of person or that thought or that thinking. And I think that's where we can do it differently as this need of a new approach, right? Where, this is not about doing it the same way, but if we were to think different and leadership was a way that you didn't feel sticky about and being called a leader, what would that need to look like?
The definition of leadership, in the accepted definition of leadership, would need to be different, wouldn't it? And it would need to be broadly accepted through the community. When I say everyone can be a leader in their life, that may not be their entire life, what they do in every day, but cut up into the things that they do in their day. So, for example, I'm a leader in the running community where I live, but I'm not a leader in the bigger running community. I'm not a leader in any other aspect of my life, pretty much. Well, there's probably. Anyway, you know what I mean. So there's one aspect of my life.
I would say that's not a truth.
Where I choose to
but
be.
Anyway.
I leave you around. Round and round. Anyway, yes. So that's just to go back into what I meant when I said leaders, that we all really have, I think, a role in leadership in our lives personally. And I hope that for everybody. I didn't hear that at all, but I saw it.
Thanks for that. You are so black and white. This is going to be a hilarious decision table, by the way, anyone that's a part of this. Any disclaimers to it being normal? It will not be a normal. This is just us.
Our normal.
I can't even remember what you were just saying because I got so distracted by the fact that. By the way, for anyone that is listening to this, I just did one of those coughs, the ones that you put your microphone on a mute. But Michelle needed to make sure you all knew that, whether you were watching this or not. So
What even
anyway.
if I want to do that? I can't even. Oh, there it is. I found it. I'm like, what if I want to go? Where's my mute button? Or just maybe want to mute you on the
We were talking about leaders in leading, right? And in that conversation around that. So I guess, I don't know. I don't know that I'm either way on this, right? Like I think, yes, I tend to agree with you on the fact that I think there's parts of us that lead at times. And all of us can lead and be leading at times in our life. I would say that's a generalization that I'm trying to think of a scenario that maybe someone doesn't do that. I can't at this moment. And if anyone else can, put it into the comments, because that would be great to have a conversation around. I think that some stand up in leadership all the time, and a true pioneering leader, or a leader that is, for me, in the global space of leadership, that it just becomes part of what I talk about all the time, your decision DNA, right? Like it just sort of seeps out of you, and you lead in all you do. And I think this is where it comes into it. Leadership was often in the old school thinking. The old school, like, kind of leadership was a very telling. In other words, I'm your leader and let me tell you what to do and how to do that. So for me, if that was the way I was going to be known as a leader, I don't want to have a part of that. I don't want that to be my kind of leading. I want to be able to extend, your thinking. I want to be able to give you new lenses, maybe to look through, to maybe ask better questions so that you have more of an effect in what you do. But I never want to be this place of telling. And I think that's the difficult thing about, and maybe sometimes where people really find it difficult, having different people at the table, like people that aren't like them. Because what if they come up with something that looks different, sounds different, and is way out of their norm? And I think that's kind of where a new approach can come from, is that we don't tell, and we are willing to have all sorts of flavors. That's what I call it, flavors at the table.
So we're more open to anything that comes in, and we're not just pushing things out when we were providing space for all to be heard.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly it. And whereas this was at one point so easy, just to kind of be like sheep and you just follow whatever the leader says, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, how boring is that? Everyone turns out the same.
When I look around, and I'm often amazed at how many people in the community, all communities, there are elements of people who just want that. It's like, what?
But is that because it's easy? Is that because that's all they've known?
Yeah, because they don't know or have, and yeah, I just look at that and I think, well, how do you change that? Is it a leader's responsibility to help change that? Is it, I don't know, is it a societal responsibility perhaps to
what do you think?
ways to open it up? Well, I wish, because of the egalitarian part of me, the part that wants everybody to be the same, and I recognize that that's a part of my personality, so that's why I'm always pull everything back to the center. I tend to do that. You would see me doing that quite a bit.
No, never seen it. No.
Yeah, right. So when I see it, I struggle with it, because the thought that we don't all have the same, I probably would have been good in a traditional communist kind of, if that's
that's so true.
My kind of understanding of it, where we all are the same, we do the same things, but we're I like to be individual too, so I worked that one out, because we are a little different. But when I do see that, though, and I just feel sad, actually, when I see that there are so many members of our community, and I don't just mean Australia or America or just Western. I think it's actually most communities. There are members of most communities, at least that have been affected by Western ways, perhaps, where you have this apathetic, just look after me, or all I want to do all day is feel good, but not by what I do, but what I consume or what I, so whether it's, and that just makes me feel sad. And it's like, how do you make those changes in the world?
Where do you think that comes from? Why do you think that tends to be the way?
Maybe it is because it's so easy for us to consume these days. Like even people who are, I know when we did a lot of traveling before we left, we did a bit of research because we were going into countries that were not as wealthy as ours.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, should we be careful what we do with our phones and things like that? Because, and then you get there and you realize actually everyone has a phone, not that dissimilar to mine. Everyone has a smartphone, irrelevant really of their poverty level or whatever. So they have access to this to be able to consume. They have access to all of the things that are on the internet. So maybe in part it's, television, internet, all of this entertainment stuff that we all have, which it's great. It's fantastic. It's amazing. And here we are being able to have this conversation using it. But maybe it's the opposite side of that is that easy to consume, being able to just sort of check out of everything your entire life, not just as a relaxation time, but actually for your entire life is so accessible to all of us, actually, where you are.
Do you think also that maybe so I'm gonna, because I saw you just have a little moment there, it looked like you were in prayer there for a second, but do you think also that value systems have changed a lot over the time? In other words, where we valued spending time with people, and I think this has been the interesting time of what's happened across the globe, is many of us have lost loved ones during this season as well. I shout out to Richard Branson, his mom. He's celebrating her life. She just passed away through this time as well. But everyone's losing some loved one or something's happening. And what is interesting around that is that then people are drawing back into, well, maybe I need to hug my loved ones a bit more. Maybe I need to spend more time with my loved ones. And I'm seeing a little bit of a tip of the value system and what that brings into people's lives and priorities. Do you think that that's playing a part of where we're heading and this whole thinking about yourself, or is this actually making it even worse? Because I don't know about you, but well, I do kind of know about you, so I should say I think you're quite aware that one of the trends I saw in global leadership was as soon as the challenge hit the world, in other words, the virus hit the world, I saw where people had a massive outlook for the globe and bigger solutions and beyond their walls, go really back into how do we survive? I need to make sure we've got my things, like me as an individual, that's all sorted out. And so there was actually a turn in the balance even then. Some thoughts around that?
So you're talking about how, and before COVID hit, there was a feeling that people were starting to be more outward looking. And
totally. Like that was part of a conversation that many leaders across the globe were really willing to have, were wanting to have, and knowing that they could probably do things beyond their own wall if they weren't doing it already.
Yeah. And then as COVID hit, everybody put the shutters down and started being a bit more internal. In part, I think that was a mechanism for protecting individual and family units and things, and from this threat from outside. And as time's gone by, it hasn't just been a couple of weeks and then we could open everything up, as we all know.
I really noticed that.
I live in a tiny little island state that hasn't been too badly affected by COVID. Touch wood. We have a little bit, but not too much. And we can't travel, so we have been affected because I can't come up and see Kiri Marie.
I know.
So it's been the longest we've been without being able
I know.
to.
So that's why we do those long calls.
That's why we do those long calls. So I do think, we're waiting for that to, to change again as this new norm that we're in at the moment, which I think will again change, just like everything changed, nothing stays the same. It will change, and as we come out of it, but even now, you can see, I think people are starting to look more outwardly.
So do I. I agree on that.
Just because it's been a little bit of time, we've all got used to what is this new thing, and there are things happening outside our walls. You only have to turn on the radio, whatever, and listen to all of the news that's going on. And there are things that are happening. So we are becoming a little bit more, I think, more aware. And I don't know whether America shakes us all up and we see what's going on over there, and that there are, they're doing, there's big changes going on for that society. So that does affect us and how we think about what's, not just looking internally, but is that going to affect all of us? Is that going to, and so then you start having thoughts about the outside world and how it affects you, and how you can either not just protect yourself, but how you can make changes. That one of my things is to help people with mental health through exercise and things in the future. So to me, it's almost a response, if not a reflection, of some of the things that have been going on in society, not just with COVID and Black Lives Matter and all of the other things, but just with life in general, and mental health being such a poor thing in our communities these days. So that's part of my reflection for trying to work out how I can help the greater communities to, outside of me, to have a much better life. I mean, ideally, if there's some kind of ripple effect that any of us can have, I think most people, right thinking people anyway, want to have a positive effect in other people's lives. And if you can positively affect many people's lives, the better you'll feel. It's kind of comes back to you in a nice way. But if that was everyone's goal, to positively affect other people, then that would be good. So I think I just went completely away from what we were talking about.
No, that's great. So go more into it. And classes
focus.
It's all good. This is where our conversations, we go down rabbit holes. I mean, so many of them. Classes just saying, hey, live for a few minutes before I go to sleep. So shout out to him. This is Michelle's, the one that you talk to in between things. The one.
Should we sing a lullaby for class?
Okay, well, you know what? You can lead the way on this.
No, actually, you're the singer, not me.
Not today, though. Not today.
Sorry,
no. If we think of, I said no, thanks. Yes. So anyway, getting back to the conversation, positive. I think that's one of your big things. Yes, down the rabbit hole we go. Actually, absolutely. Nikhil's saying yes. Sing the lullaby. Yes, I don't even know if I know a lullaby, to be honest. But don't put one in there in case I know it.
Is it Hush Little Baby? There's one.
Oh, quiet you over there. If you know it, sing it then. Okay, so being positive, but this is part of it, right? Like, and I think it's funny because we talk about being more positive and then that ripple effect. I think that's why we have a lot of laughs, our small little team that we have. One of the things I think is criteria is to have fun and to have laughs. Like sometimes you tell me off because we go off such a tangent and pull us back into sort of, way over there. And then you're like, come back. But I think that's part of the journey. And I think that we, I always talk around leadership as being a journey. And part of that journey is that we actually enjoy being on that journey. Part of that is having fun along that way. Part of that is actually enjoying who's coming on that journey with you. How do we do that we have heaps of laughs. We certainly do. Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Thanks, class. Can you see this, Michelle?
No, I can't.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Phone.
No. I would love to be able to sing that to you, but I just don't speak Dutch.
Dutch.
The look of yes.
Hey, I don't have Facebook on my phone at nighttime, so I haven't uploaded it on my phone. So
It's all good. It's all good. This is actually in the comments in the actual StreamYard. It's so funny. And there's someone here who said, yes, big changes. I just saw that. I'm not sure who you are because you're a Facebook user. Few users out there. Oh, Facebook users I'm talking about right now, just to get it clear. Yeah. I'm sure that sounds beautiful, class. I'd love you to sing that and send me a video of that. And unless you want it to, I won't put it up to the cloud.
We went off on the lullaby sideline.
We go off on the lullabies. But that's all about being positive. And part of what you were saying earlier is this interest of yours to go deeper into seeing how things like being positive. Facebook user Steve in the USA.
Hey, Steve.
Wow, now we've got down to at least it's a Steve in the USA. That's hilarious. Love it. Welcome, Steve. But going back to this, positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're saying with the way that you like to use running as a help to change where mental health is going. And I think positivity is very much part of a lens you use to, okay, sorry, a little distraction. Kira Marie, consider it done. I'll make sure we sing one in Spanish as well. Sorry, won't interrupt you anymore with my silliness. I know, this is great interruption. And in fact, Michelle's very used to having conversations like this with me. So this is kind of how we roll. So this is actually feeling so much more like how we sort of have our conversations, isn't it, Michelle?
Yeah,
okay, going back to the positivity, down that rabbit hole. Sometimes we do. But the positivity, here's the thing. Like I go, how do we stay positive? Like I'm actually kind of in general, a very positive person. Mm-hmm. And I used to think that if I showed anything that was beyond positivity, that was negativity, or, well, to me, it's not negativity. It's just like, I want to get it out so I don't hold it in. And usually I'll send you a message and then I'm over it. But I just need to get it out because on the outside, I'm such a positive person all the time. But I'll also call, and I will call things. Like I won't hold back on that. And that's part of me being positive about the fact that I'm not happy with that. There we go. Is that a truth or is that me just convincing myself that's a truth?
Yeah, I think that is the truth. And I think it is. So you're talking about putting light on things when you're not happy with it, just going along like Mary Poppins and believing and just kind of going, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So rather than saying, actually, that was really crap and you probably shouldn't have done it and you should have done it this way or whatever, then I think that's leadership.
Okay, there you go. Because here's the thing, like I used to think positivity was kind of like this fairy dust thing, those kind of people.
No.
They would be putting the positivity out. And I'm not I'm not negative against positivity. That is hilarious. I'm not against positivity. I'm actually really for it because we know that things from that, things from that, when you're positive.
My Apple just
running shots on already.
I was going running. I'm going.
That's hilarious. So going back to the positivity thing, right? Fairy dust. We can do it as fairy dust, but that's not sustainable. It's like I can be really happy and I am, but then something happens in my environment. Then the world crashes down and the borders all close. Then my bank account's looking down, not up. Then something happens to a loved one. How do we maintain it as something that we use as a tool to help us, but knowing with reality that I don't believe anyone can be positive 24/7.
No, I think that's true. Unfortunately, that gives positivity a bad rap because there are
Correct.
some people out there who say that it should. I would say, so when you say things like, my bank account is really low, and that's for many people and a very big negative in their life, and it really affects them, then to me, with a positive, I would put a positive spin on it in my
Yeah.
brain to say, well, that's awesome, because that gives me motivation to do a bit more work or to come up with another idea, or to, so that's how I would use positivity in that. Doesn't mean that I don't feel sad or annoyed or any of the other things, but I would put some kind of positive spin on it. If somebody's passing away, then of course that's really, really sad. But at the same time, it's part of life cycle. It's part of just being a human. It means that they've been alive. That's positive. And all the things that they've done and the effects that they've had. In if they were young, then there's other ways that you can frame that as well. The joy that they brought when they were here. Just yeah.
But sometimes that irritates me. I want to be cranky, and you're like, just think of how this is being positive and this is helping someone or doing something. And I'm like, can't I just feel it, just for a few minutes?
Yes,
Let me
that
just
is actually
get it
also,
out.
that's also actually really important for your mental health, that you don't just push away any negative, like negative things are actually really good. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that
But
you
I
have
never
to
knew
have
that. I actually
thought
didn't
about
know
it.
that
Negative
long,
things
right?
are great. In fact, I think this is another bug I have in my head at the moment, and that is that our whole society is framed around failure being a bad thing. Like even saying the word, you go, oh, ugh, it's an icky
Yeah.
word. It's like, oh, who wants to fail? Like, do you want to have that stamp on your head? I'm a failure. Like, but if our whole society, if the whole world was somehow framed failure as an awesome thing, is just a stepping stone to the next thing that doesn't fail, because you've learned something from it, and it means you won't make that mistake again, hopefully. So if we could reframe failure, wouldn't that make the world like a whole? Wouldn't that just be awesome? Anyway, that's one of my bugbears at the moment about failure,
No, I love
and how we treat failure. And it is connected to positivity in a way. Like if you could make that a positive word rather than a negative word, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that as your first course, how to turn negativity into positivity. There we go. There's your, and so we've got a comment in here. One way I think of positivity is in terms of intent. When I receive corrective feedback from someone I trust has positive intent, I still receive it as a net positive, even if it wasn't super comfortable to hear.
You could say the same about failures, couldn't you? Because if a failure is just a reflection of something you've done, usually, whether it's a positive or a negative, but we think of failures as a negative. Perhaps we should be thinking of it as a positive reflection, not a negative reflection of something you've done. So I like that. That's really good. Thank you, whoever said that.
So if we think of that though, so a positive as a negative or a negative as a positive?
Doesn't mean not to be sad, by the way.
Yeah. How do we, and what does that look like and is there a time frame to how long we're allowed to be sad for, or is there a framework around this? Is you breathe in 5 times and okay, now you've done your sadness, that's out, let's move on. But I joke about this, but I think this is some of those things that culturally, sometimes it's like I will never forget the first day that my husband realized I was going to go live and press that button. And he goes, just say really positive and good things. I think he was quite afraid how I would use my voice, knowing that I now had a platform that could go across the world. And I remember that. He's grown up on that a lot. Yes, he does know me well. And, but that was because, can I just say, culturally, in the space that we are in our company that wasn't the norm. It wasn't norm to grieve or to be upset about something or to stand strong that maybe would go against your industry even. It wasn't the norm to do that. I think it's become a lot more acceptable in places. You know, it's still, we don't want to say the wrong thing. We don't want to upset people. And I think that this whole positive negative thing, the negative side of it is actually just being real. It's saying, hey, I don't have it all right. And I just need this moment. I'm not gonna make you feel like you have to be sorry for me and do all that sort of side of it. But I need this moment. And if it's okay, I'm just going to share some of the learnings that I'm having as I'm walking through this. I don't know. Your thoughts around that?
A couple of things. One would be when you're having what are not positive emotions in company of others, our society is not very good at dealing with that. And that also goes back to the failures and all that kind of, we only want to see positive. And so it's that's not the way the world is. I'm fully aware of that. And that's fine. In fact, it's good, which probably pulls me into the next one. And that is that emotions are actually healthy. And that if you don't feel them, then all these other things you're going to get sick, actually. That's a fact. You will actually get sick. There's a whole lot of
because it's like a volcano, right?
It's
like a volcano. That's how I think of it.
There's a whole lot of chemicals and stuff
building up, and then it's got to come out somewhere.
Yeah. And the other side of that is if you don't let yourself feel some of the negative emotions, for the lack of a better of another word, like being sad or when things don't work.
Maybe we should put it on a scale of positivity, that it's the less positive emotions.
So it's still positive, just less positive.
So it's still positive, but it's less positive. I don't know. I wonder what our listeners are thinking around this conversation. You know, is there a scale to positivity? And so now we redefine what positivity can look like.
To me, if you don't, just going back to this point I wanted to make, if you don't feel sad, disappointed, all the other range of what we consider to be not positive emotions, then you never get to feel the full beauty of life, actually, because you don't get to feel the opposite. And as humans, we actually, although we kind of, there's no such, you can start talking about balance and stuff. So you've got this thing in the middle, like a balance line. But the reality is it's very rare for us. I don't even think that any time we actually ever hit that. As humans, we tend to either be, up or down. We don't be in the middle that much. I mean, we hover. I guess the best people, or the best of us are able to hover in the middle where we're having some positive and something. But the things that you remember in your life that stick in your mind, negative and positive, are the ones where you reached the top of the mountain and you got to look at the amazing view and that made you want to cry, or the one where your parents passed away and it made you really sad. It's what's human. Like if you were to remove those polar opposites, our experience of being human would be nowhere near as colorful. It would become quite bland. And so to me, they're really important that they still exist. And it's not, and I think they can in a positive world, I guess. And I think they need to in order to, because I would never want to not have those experiences that make me feel so elated as a person. And, I did have that in church. You'd be like to know when I was younger, when I was a church goer, but I also have it in my running. And I also have it, when I see a spectacular view or have an amazing conversation that can push those endorphins, things that are going off in your brain, the chemicals that are happening.
And that's what we're wanting to stimulate anyway, right? Like to keep feeding us, because they feed other things into our system.
Yeah.
So help us to be healthy.
So positive, negative, I think it all is important, and it's maybe what we as a society, what layers we put on those as to whether it's negative or positive.
Yeah. So Nikhil says in here, do you think old school leadership has a hustle mentality that has a negative impact on the team? I think that's an interesting question. I.e., it promotes stress and not well-being.
I've never liked hustle as the way it's described anyway. I do think that we need to have hustle seasons.
Yes.
I actually think if
I do believe that too.
That's what it's like to work with Kerry Marie. There is hustle seasons, and then there are quiet seasons, and then there's hustle seasons, and there's quiet seasons. So, but I do think that busy, if you're always busy, there's no time for reflection. There's no time for even just to recover from the busy. And I don't think you make great decisions. At least most people don't. There might be the rare individual who's capable of that, but I don't think it's healthy for you, your business, your life. Actually, we all need those moments of reflection to alter course if we need to, or confirm that we can continue in the direction we're heading in. So
yeah, and I think it's also that everyone, and you sort of said that in a way, was that everyone works at different paces. Everyone works at different, capacity levels. And I think it's being really aware, how do you work? And I know when we've worked closely together, I always make sure that we have time in our space and you do the same. You make sure it's in there. But where you go off for your run, and like I just go, I'm not even going to talk to Michelle until she's sort of like done that in her day, or otherwise we'll be at each other, because it's like this pent up something in you that needs to get out there and just, I don't know, go for that run. But I guess I feel the same way with a lot of the time with workouts, that release that I need to get, and then I can settle into what is ahead of me in my day, kind of thing. I don't know. It's learning ways in which each team member, how do they work? Nikhil's funny because he's on here and he's asking this question, but even I've had lots of discussions with you, Michelle. I'm going to talk about Nikhil because he's not on here. So as in, it's only you and I, but really, but even in Nikhil's case, like, how does he best work, and learning ways in which we can make it work better for him and for the result that you want at the table. And I think that's really important to figure out, how he works versus how you work. So one of the things, and quote me if I'm wrong, but I would say that you need every little detail along that pathway. And that makes you go, now I know where I'm moving forward and how to do that. Nikhil, he needs kind of the main pieces along that, but don't give him too many details until he needs those details. Right? And so when I learned that, then I think that brought much more of a positive sort of environment into how we run as a team as well. And I think so that's where I go. I think it's really important to positivity comes in things like knowing where your team capacity is. If they need to go for a run, if they need to go for a, just go spend some time with your daughter. Like, we've got this, we've got your back, whatever it takes to get that and refuel. And then I think it's also a big drive, and something that keeps positivity is when you love what the vision is of what you're working on together as well. And so in our case, our vision for the company is huge, and I can't do it on my own, and you guys know that. And so together we carry that and we work towards that, and we celebrate the wins when we've got them. No matter how little they are, we are always celebrating those wins. And then if it's tough, we all just dig in, and we've got each other's back in that way. And I think that is another thing that's really important for the positivity. And again, the fun. Like, it is important for me to have laughs. It is important for me to be stupid. It's important for me, when when Ma died and passed away, we talked about that as a company, and we grieved, and we watched that video together of the last time that I got to really spend time with her. And it happened to be the one that we use for Voice Advocacy Foundation. Now, we did that as a company, and that to me is, those things are promoting well-being in our company. Those things are going to mean that we can sustain this journey. And the other thing, and it's almost criteria, and I've thought about this a lot lately, but every single one that's a part of this company has an outside what they do and they can bring that genius into the place. And, I think that's really important for all of us to know that we are leaders, or we are people who are really smart outside of my company, and together as our company that we all come together in, that we bring those smarts and we work together on that. And I think that's really beautiful. Anything to add to that?
Yes.
Of course.
Of course.
Always.
A couple of things that you said.
I just have to say, I've heard you, Kira-Marie, and now I'm going to take you up to that next level. See, everyone thinks I'm the boss, but I actually think Michelle's the boss. Nikhil, back me up, brother. Back me up.
Bossy, maybe. I think we both can be a bit bossy.
I think we're all bosses in this company.
Oh, that's true. Like you said, we all have our own individual things going on as well, which means we're all leaders in what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Too. So for me, what came out of one thing that you said, where we recognize that we all have different things going on, and also, different priorities in our lives, and that is support. That a good leader, which you are, supports their team in what's going on. They can't even compliment her without us laughing about it. But that feeling of
By the way, everyone, I have to, take those moments. Oh, she said I was a good leader today. Oh, I'm taking that.
Take it. Look, it's recorded too. You can watch it later.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna keep pressing replay.
She will. You can take a screenshot too, and you put it on the wall and write on it, "This is the time that Michelle complimented me."
Not that we're digressing or anything.
Because I'm so good at this side. Anyway, so it's that support of that I know Nikhil and I and Mary and other members of the team, that we all feel very supported, not just by you, but by each other as well. So I think there's that element of team building that comes in, where we all feel like that cohesive thing, so that we all have time where we're together, and so we get to know each other, and then we have the ability to be more, to get to know each other and be more cohesive as a team and supportive as a team, which I think is really helpful, because life happens to us all. As you know, this last year, life happened a bit to me, and I know you had some crappy times, and you certainly had some crappy times as well. So, and Mary at the moment, shout out to Mary. Hope that you are feeling okay. She actually has COVID, one of our team members. So shout out to her too. Do need to check up on that. So to me, that's important from a leadership perspective.
But I also love, I have to say, and another thing to add in there is the fact that we are out focused. I think that is huge. Like if you think of Ethan and Jotham as part of the team as well, what they add into the pot. I think the thing that keeps us all going, even when maybe we haven't, get frustrated with each other, or something's a bottleneck, or we're not just getting it happening at the time, because there's so many challenges outside, we just go, but this is not about us anymore. And we just got to pick up our pieces and pick up each other and go, if we're all alive still, right? Yep. Okay, great. Check in. Good. Now, what is this all about? And that out focus, I think, really means as a team that we can progress forward too.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's beyond our walls.
One element which kind of ties into that I wanted to talk about was that having a conversation in our heads, and as at a company level as well, I think, about who it is we need to be in order to achieve those things. So when we're thinking about what it is we need to do now, how we prioritize, what tasks we do, all of that kind of thing, if we do that with a filter of that outside focus, but who we need to be in order to make that outside focus happen, or whatever the goal is for the company, it's something that I've been working on recently, in regards to habits and what habits you have and don't have, what ones you want to keep and not keep. And a lot of it is that, being that person that you want to be now, not waiting until the company has reached XYZ people and achieve the things, but do it now. Like, live in that space now, and then make decisions based on that filter, rather than the filter of, well, we're trying to get there and we're down here and we're trying to get up there. And so that filter, I think, includes a whole bunch of limitations that we don't necessarily see because the filter's there. Whereas if we were to be up there. So I think that's an interesting distinction, and an interesting, I think you do that naturally anyway. I think that's a big part of, vision and stuff that you apply to the company, and you try and help us all to see through that vision, so that the decisions that we make for the company on a daily basis are through that filter, rather than from a filter of, this is a little startup and we're trying to climb our way out. Instead, we're already here and we're
Maybe we should come back to Earth occasionally. Is that what you're saying?
No, never. How boring.
Yeah, sounds it. Okay, so, and I love that what you're saying there. Also, if you were to say some better habits, what are some that you think are important?
From a personal
whatever perspective you want to come from.
I have a couple.
Cool. Tell us.
I have a couple.
Share.
So things like making the most of the day by not wasting it, by getting up earlier if you can. I have done some study recently that seems to say that not everybody's a morning person, but if you in general look at, we aren't, as humans, we are cut from the same initial, when we were primal and we would get up with the sun and go to sleep. So there is an element of that, I think.
Is that because they didn't have electricity?
Well, exactly. But we don't, we haven't evolved, like for humans to evolve some of the elements of our anatomy, including our brains and our bodies. It takes a lot longer than the time has been since we've had electricity. So actually, that's why some of us still find that we do. A lot of people you talk to will say that they work better in the morning. Some people will say at nighttime, whatever. But a large percentage in the morning. So if you haven't tried it for a long time, I would think about going to sleep a little bit earlier so that you can get up a little bit earlier and see if it works for you, especially if the working thing at night isn't working for you. So maybe make that as the judgment. Obviously, eating more healthily, cutting back on all the carbs and the sugars, whether you choose to be a meat eater or not, it's up to you. Drinking enough water. Although, again, I've read something recently. I wanted to draw attention to Kerry Marie about that. And that is that some of this book was actually saying that the advice for amount of water that we drink is actually a little bit too much. So considering how much water you guys are drinking at the moment, so habits that support your
here's
body.
the thing, and this is my disclaimer to the water thing, right? No. So I've been listening to my body a lot around water, because this is a conversation we've had a lot around. And I agree with you. 2 of these massive bottles, which is a gallon of water for those that are listening, it's a gallon of water a day, is a lot for the body to consume. Yet I find that when I'm not on the challenge that I'm on at the moment, which is phase 1 of the 75-day challenge, I will sit at a bottle and a half really easily, and I feel good with that. Except if I'm exercising lots and there's a lot of heat, then that gallon is perfect. So one of the things that I think makes that consumable is you up that while you're on the challenge, and so that your body is actually thriving on it. So that's my little disclaimer on the water, and something that I've learned as I've gone on this journey.
That makes sense. Yeah. Now, obviously, I would also say that you should be moving as a habit daily if you can.
So good. But why is that so good? Give us a reason.
You can go back to the primal stuff. A lot of the stuff that is good for us, it's because not that long ago in our development as humans, it was imperative. If you didn't move, you didn't gather your food, you didn't escape being food, lots of things like that. And we're wired to move, actually wired to move. And actually we're wired to run as well. Not necessarily always fast or anything, but we are actually wired to run unless there's something wrong with you have an issue with your body or something, an injury or something. Then, that's obviously a bit different, but otherwise we are wired to run. But of course, exercise is exercise, however you choose to do it. And so I think that's habit wise, I think looking after your body is really, really important, and trying to move, trying to eat the right food, trying to make the most of each day. And then I'll probably come back to focus. So if you're thinking about what it is you want to do each day, and we're talking about habits, then my habit at the moment, I've started, who do I want to help today? Rather than,
I like that one.
Rather than it just being, how am I going to make $1 million or whatever. Then it being a very selfish sort of focus, I find that pulls me in a better direction than, some other focuses you can have in your business.
It's funny that you say that, because one of mine in this last week, I've heard it so many times, and it was something that just really stuck with me, and that was pour out. So one of my filters in my day at the moment is, who can I pour out into? And that has been a really nice filter. So it's kind of the same thing. Who can I help?
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. And then, of course, because what I want to do is develop a mindful running program for women. Then having some time where you are just appreciating where you are. Doesn't actually matter whether you are preferably outside, standing on nature rather than on concrete and inside, because you get all the other positive effects of things being outside.
Totally.
And being a bit mindful of where you are, and taking a moment rather than rush, which probably goes back to Nikhil's question earlier a little bit about hustle and getting how, what to do with hustle. But to me, that would be a bit of a circuit breaker. If you find your life is feeling like you're always hustling, taking a few moments like that each day is sometimes all it needs.
Love that.
Circuit breaker.
And I think that takes us full circle into the importance of putting some of these habits as leaders into what we believe really is the new approach to leadership, where there is more mindfulness, there is more seeing maybe a scale of positivity that maybe sometimes it's less than positive. Other times it's way more positive, and we fuel up when we're in the massive positive, and when we're in the less positive, maybe that's the time where we have each other's back a little more, or we're surrounded by amazing people. We've got the support things in place. We've got strategies that help us to go through that and go through it well. I think all these things are beautiful things to add into doing it in better and more effective ways in a new approach. Would you have anything to say on that?
I think tailored with that outward focus we were talking about earlier, like what a leader looks like, because I think a leader who's too inwardly focused is not going to be a very good leader.
So the out focus,
So the outward focus, and being able to make ripple effects, I think that's really important. That being able to make little changes in someone's life that are positive, that can then have a knock-on effect to other people and other people. It's when I became a teacher 100 years ago, no longer a teacher.
You are still my teacher.
It was one of the things that I've actually got Kerry Marie's kids thinking I'm like the cleverest person on the planet.
Exactly.
Because I can do maths Anyway,
Mhm.
like up here. But it's only because I was a teacher.
And the other thing they think you're amazing is because I'll go, where's this? Or where do I get this password? And you're just like, boom, got it. And they go, wow, Michelle knows everything.
Anyway, when I was a teacher, one of the things I used to say, why am I being a teacher? What is this? Why do I want to do this? And in many reasons, I just wanted to, I don't know, get a degree and didn't know what I wanted to do, like most people in their teenagers and early 20s. But I came up with this thing that if at least I helped one child, even just one in my what was relatively short teaching career, then I feel like that ripple effect could be massive. You know, it's not just that one person, but they then go on and have a family, and then they, you know, and it's, you know, you look back in 100 years and the ripple could be massive. Who knows?
I love that.
So that was my main focus.
Perfect. And if anyone wants to get hold of you, wants to know how to become part of that ripple effect that you're wanting to have and to be, and you know, just shout out to you around you know, more of what you're talking about here, of the stuff with the running and the power of that, and how that can really help them to be, you know, bring more positive results in what they're doing and who they are. How do they do that? What's the best way?
At the moment, the best way is to find me on Facebook and friend me. I'm very friendly.
Yeah. You are very friendly.
Very friendly, very positive too. I'm going to start a podcast called Fit Mind, Fit Body, which will all be about this before I develop the program. So that's probably the best way to keep up with what I'm doing. Apart from, I'm always not far away from Kiri-Maree, even if it's only digitally at the moment. So.
True. Very true. Yes. Well, my friend, it has been amazing having you on here. Like, you know, we've had a lot of fun, which is kind of normal for us. And, you know, we talk about nothing and everything, and that's very normal for us. It's kind of like extremes, you know, we sometimes are really deep and we go right in there, and then we pull ourselves out and we go. And I think that for us, you know, you are so close to my world, and I'm so grateful for you in my world, because you know everything about me.
I do.
My family,
I do.
Companies, and you are the insider. If there's anyone that's my insider, it is you. And you know, there's times when I don't know who else to reach out to, and I just reach out to you, and we just talk through things, and then we're back into it. And I love that. There's no judgment. No, there's a real safety with our friendship, relationship, and then as a colleague as well. You know, there's just a safe space, and I appreciate that so much about you. Sometimes I think you want so many details that it's killed me, and I've gone, okay, that's enough right now. You know, that's kind of reality. But I like that as well, because it means that, you know, we've kept very, very tight to, well, what is it we need here, and how do we need to keep moving on? So, you know, forever grateful for you in my world. But I also have, you know, I think our relationship has just gone from new levels to new levels as we continue to grow as individuals, and then bring that into our community that we're a part of. And then that ripple effect is just, you know, the fact we can have this live conversation on the decision table, I think, is an example of, you know, we continuously keep learning from each other.
Yeah, I think we both have had and will continue to have massive ripples in each other's lives.
Exactly.
So, in a positive way. So I'm very grateful that I can be a part of it. So thank you, Kiri-Maree.
You're very welcome. So do you want to leave anyone with anything? Is there something that if you were having parting words on the decision table that you'd love to leave? Other than, if people have enjoyed this conversation, and, you know, part of it is creating awareness out to the world, you know, share this conversation with the world and your people, so that, you know, more can hear about it, more can, you know, have have more questions in there, and we can really keep on focus, because we actually answer some of those questions, as people bring it, or reach out to us if you think you would have a great conversation to have on the decision table, so that, and you will actually speak to Michelle, not me, first. So now that you know who she is, and we'll get you on the decision table and have a conversation like we've had today. So, if you think this is a good thing to have, that this is a safe platform, that it's great to, create awareness around some of the things that we think is important, particularly at the moment, to the need of a new approach to leadership, then reach out to us, and we will get you on here. In the meantime, Michelle?
Two things. One is that I back up what Kerry Marie said, and actually want to add to it. We want to hear from you. So reach out.
I think it's funny because a lot of my friends, when I reach out to you, you'll go, yes, not a problem. But you wait to be reached out to. Don't wait. If you want to be on this, if you want a conversation, you want to be a part of this, and you've got some thinking on, what you do and the lenses you use, then let's get to see how we can add this to what could be what we think is the need for a new approach to leadership.
So then my other personal request is that everybody goes outside today and takes their shoes off and either walks on this. Well, the sand is okay, but grass definitely. Okay.
Why grass?
I don't know. It's just softer. It's nicer, and it's hot where you are at the moment. I don't know. It
is.
actually. I think because in my brain,
and then there might be like gross things on the sand and the dirt.
Yeah, no, stop that. I'm going to come up there, you germaphobe. Grass actually grows things, whereas sand doesn't grow things.
Great.
Right?
Good. So you think, I got it. So you think if I stand on the grass, I too will grow. I'm trying to shrink me, not grow me at the moment.
You'll grow tall and grown up like me.
Well, if that's the case, and I always want to be just like you, Michelle, then
that's what I
good
thought.
Thinking. Listen to Michelle, everybody. Listen to Michelle. Take your shoes off.
Feet on the grass.
Stand on the grass. I love that. And what a great way to finish on the decision table. Thank you, my friend, for being here. I am going to end this broadcast. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Okay,
See you again tomorrow.
Thanks for having me. Bye.